Got a few more minutes till 10:30 where we'll start, but I've got the live stream started already. Um, so that if she wants, my mom can watch this meeting later. All right, everybody. It is 10:32. My apologies. Um, we are going to get started. Call this meeting to order. This is the Cape Fear RPO's Rural Technical Coordinating Committee, the RTCC or the TCC. Um, we have multiple acronyms for the same thing because why not? So the first thing, I'm going to do a roll call of our TCC members. If I don't call your name and you're on the meeting, please put your name and affiliation in the chat so I can make sure to capture that for the meeting minutes. So going down the TCC roster, Helen Bunch. Helen.
Here.
Mo Meehan.
Here.
Matt Kirkland. Nicole Morgan. Jeff Rep. Bridget Spann. Dylan Bowen. Robert Lewis. Josh Ward. Marcy Waters.
Here.
Christina Burke. Ron Meredith. Jeremy Smith.
Here.
Rob Taylor. Adrian Cox or Eric Ritzel?
Adrian's not able to make it today, but Eric Ritzel is here.
Gotcha, thank you. Philip Hart? Or Nathan Mills? Either one.
Nathan Mills here for Philip Hart.
Awesome, thank you. Nazia Sarter?
Here.
Jim Rupp-Calvis? Greer Templer? Tom DeBridney? Yvonne Hatcher? Joy Jacobs?
Here.
Kathy Guidry?
Here.
Stephanie Ayers?
Here.
Sam Boswell's here. Daniel Adams? All right. We have a quorum. Let me double check in the chat, make sure I didn't miss anybody that was on that roster. No, okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the review and approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any questions or any changes, revisions to the agenda? If not, get a motion to accept it as is.
Motion.
Motion by Stephanie. Or a second.
Second.
Is that Mo? Yeah, that was Mo.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, I'll roll call. Helen Bunch,
Yes.
Mo Meehan,
Yes.
Marcy Waters,
Yes.
Jeremy Smith,
Yes.
Eric Ritzel,
Yes.
Nathan Mills,
Yes.
Nazia Sarter,
Yes.
Joy Jacobs,
Yes.
Kathy Guidry,
Yes.
Stephanie Ayers,
Yes.
Sam Boswell, yes. Good deal, good deal. Next item is the review and approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting that was on April 1st. Do we have any questions on that record? If not, request a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Stephanie. Do we have a second?
I'll do the second.
Thanks, Kathy. Any other questions or discussion on our April meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, I will roll call. Helen Bunch,
Yes.
Mo Meehan,
Yes.
Marcy Waters,
Yes.
Jeremy Smith,
Yes.
Eric Ritzel,
Yes.
Nathan Mills,
Yes.
Nazia Sarter,
Yes.
Joy Jacobs,
Yes.
Kathy Guidry,
Yes.
Stephanie Ayers.
Yes.
Sam Boswell, yes. Wonderful. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comment. This time, if anybody that would like to make a public comment, the floor is yours. Otherwise, let me just double check the chat real quick. I don't think I have any questions there. I did not receive any public comment ahead of time, whether in writing or otherwise. So is there anybody that wishes to make public comment? Okay. Well, then we'll move right along. The next item on the agenda is an update on prioritization. So just to give you all an idea of where things stand as we go through, if you'll recall in our April meeting, we reviewed and recommended for approval, then the TAC approved the local input point methodology for prioritization. You can split prioritization, at least by our involvement as a planning organization, into two halves, submitting projects and then assigning local input points to those projects. So we approved that methodology that will outline how we're going to go about that point assignment process throughout the rest of this year. It happens in two phases, the regional phase and the division phase. But before we can even do that, we had to get the quantitative scores back from NCDOT, and those were released last Thursday evening, May 28th. With the exception of the bicycle and pedestrian projects, those had a few more things to be tied up. And we're hoping within the next week-ish to get those scores, at which point we'll have scores for all of our projects. And so in part, that's why I haven't sent out the full list of scores. Because I'd like to be able to put all of those on one sheet and post those to the website and send those to you. But as part of the release of scores, they being the prioritization office, told us which projects were selected for funding in the statewide mobility tier, which is the first of the three tiers. There were 43 projects selected for funding there, which is, I would say, at least triple the number of projects that were funded through this tier in P7. So that's a positive thing. More projects are getting funded. None of them were in the Cape Fear RPO, and in fact, kind of looking at just a bit broader, there were none in Brunswick, Columbus, or Pender counties across either the RPO or the MPOs. There were two projects in New Hanover County and the Wilmington MPO. Both were relatively inexpensive but impactful projects at the ILM airport. So just giving you a rundown on kind of the applicable side of statewide mobility. As a reminder, there I have on the screen, this is a kind of a snapshot out of a page you have in your packet, what projects even qualify for the statewide mobility tier. And so there, several of our projects that we submitted weren't even eligible to be funded at this tier anyway, because they have to meet. So none of our aviation projects were statewide eligible. The rail projects along the CSX rail line to Charlotte, none of those scored high enough to be funded. And we only had a handful of highway projects that met one of those designations there on the screen. So I'll get scores out to you when we get the bike ped projects back, unless that takes too long, in which case I'll just send you what we have. But scores were released last week. Along with the scores being released, the STIP unit provided a snapshot of estimated funding availability for P8 so that we know, what potential funds we're working with as we try to select which projects to assign local input points. So again, I emphasize this because they emphasize this. Please note, this is just a snapshot of the funding availability. It not only can change, but pretty much will change. Don't know in what direction, just it will change. But the good news is, of all the categories, all the regions, all the divisions, there's only one that's negative, which is a remarkable improvement from P7 for those that remember 2 years ago. So for the areas that are applicable to us here in the Cape Fear RPO, covering Columbus, Brunswick, and Pender counties, regional funding, so Region B, which you see there in the kind of darkest purple, which Pender and Brunswick are a part of. There's $150 million available as of right now, the current snapshot. Region C, which Columbus County projects are competing in, which you see in that lighter pink, kind of spanning a tall sliver of the county or of the state, about 550 million. And then division funding availabilities, Division 3, 31 million, Division 6, 186. Okay. So we will take these into account throughout the next few months as we assign local input points. And try to balance what our project priorities are versus what's realistic to compete for those funding availabilities. Not trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? If we have a regional project that might be 300 million, obviously its funding chances are pretty slim, given the if it's competing in Region B and things like that, which we'll discuss in meetings moving forward. We'll have some county workshops. So what the next few months will look like, this is where we are in the P8 schedule. We approved our methodology, we sent it to DOT, they signed off on it, said looks good. DOT released the scores last week, and now we're in the point assignment window for regional impact projects. That goes now through the end of August. So what we have coming up, like I mentioned already, I'll get the scores posted once we have all of them to keep together. Per our methodology, I'll be coordinating with our divisions because they also have local input points to assign. In the regional tier, it's a 70% quantitative score, 30% local input, but that local input is split between us and the divisions. So we want to do our best to make sure we're pulling in the same direction to be efficient with our point assignments. So coordinate with the divisions. Also, per our methodology, coordinate with each county, kind of sorting projects by priority level to help determine which ones are the most important projects to the county and to the municipalities within the county. And then we'll get all of that done by our August meetings so that this body can review our point assignments, and then the TAC can approve those point assignments, and then we'll have them submitted before the deadline at the end of August. So that's a fair amount of information. I'd be happy to answer any questions about either something I already said, or maybe there's something I left out about what's coming up. So any P8 questions right now? Either a really good thing or a really bad thing.
Do you have a date or dates in mind for the county workshops?
No, ma'am, I do not yet. I was going to, following this meeting, that is kind of next on my task is to reach out, to you, for example, Helen, see if we can book that same room at the Brunswick County complex, and get those scheduled. I'm thinking either end of June, early July. I know early July is always a bit of a risk with July 4th holiday. But I will be out of the office for both personal time and conference attendance for about a week and a half in late July. So late July is going to be tricky, and we want to have these meetings before August. So I'm looking at last few weeks of June, first week or two of July, just generally speaking, but I'll be reaching out in the next couple of days with each county to try to get that set up.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. Any other questions? Okay, we'll keep on moving then. Next on the agenda is kind of review or approval of these resolutions. So each year, this is a recurring thing that we do. Our transit partners, so Brunswick Transit System, Columbus County Transportation, and Pender Adult Services Transportation, they go through a grant application process for their various funding streams through IMD and through FTA, the Federal Transit Authority or Administration. And one of those is called Section 5310, which is specifically addressing transportation needs for older adults and people with disabilities. We have traditionally provided resolutions of support for those funds because they benefit our communities greatly. And so in your packet, you have resolutions for Brunswick Transit, Columbus County Transportation, as well as Monarch, which is they do non-emergency medical transportation. They partner with Columbus County, and then PASTRAN as well. So you have 4 resolutions. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them, but otherwise I would request a motion to recommend approval by the TAC when they meet in a couple weeks.
So Sam, can I make that motion?
I think that would be great. Absolutely. So I have a motion from Kathy.
Second.
Second.
That was a second. I think I heard Helen first. So second from Helen. Any other questions or discussion on the 5310 grant resolutions? Hearing none, I will roll call the vote. Helen Bunch,
Yes.
Mo Meehan,
Yes.
Marcy Waters,
Yes.
Jeremy Smith,
Yes.
Eric Ritzel,
Yes.
Nathan Mills,
Yes.
Nazia Sarter,
Yes.
Joy Jacobs,
Yes.
Kathy Guidry,
Yes.
Stephanie Ayers,
Yes.
Sam Boswell, yes. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Next on the agenda, this is just for informational purposes. I didn't want, anything to slip through the cracks or to seem not transparent. At our April meetings, we approved our PWP, our planning work program, which is essentially the RPO's kind of budget and list of activities, planning activities for the upcoming fiscal year. So our FY 27. Following those approvals, in the process of submitting it to DOT, I realized that I incorrectly calculated our indirect costs, which is the overhead costs for operating the RPO out of the COG. There's an indirect cost rate that's from this allocation plan, and I just put in the wrong number when I was putting it together. So made a slight adjustment to the PWP to get that indirect cost at the right value that matches the rate that is set by this allocation plan. And so what I ended up doing was moving some money between categories of data collection, CTP development, travel costs, and indirect costs. You can see that in a memo in the packet, as well as the updated PWP and the numbers from the PWP that were approved in April. According to the DOT's rules or requirements around how we manage the PWP, none of the dollar amounts that we moved from category to category triggered a threshold that needs formal approval by the TCC and the TAC. And so that's already been submitted to DOT, but I also wanted to include it in this packet here so that both this body, and I'll include it in the packet for the TAC as well, just to have all of that information on the table. So any questions about this particular adjustment? No? Okay. Oh, wait a second. My bad. These are all slides from last meeting. So, okay. Moving on, next on our agenda is a list of reports. And so the only things I had left in the packet, again, just double checking. I've said this for other meetings this year, your calendar invitations for the rest of the year. Those are our TCC meeting dates, August 5th, October 7th, November 4th. If you don't have the Zoom links or the meeting calendar invitations, please let me know so I can get those to you. As far as STIP updates, just schedule changes and things of that nature, those were included in your packet if anybody has any questions, but I'm not going to spend much time on those. Two other things that I wanted to run by this group. You may recall from a couple meetings ago, me talking about this new requirement starting in P9, where highway projects submitted in P9 or later will require an express design or a comparable level estimate. An express design is kind of, it's going to have cost estimates and kind of a more in-depth look at, the projects that we are submitting to prioritization to make sure we have a decent handle on what they are, what their impacts will be. And so to get those prepared for the start of P9, we've been given a series of checkpoints to get ours kind of send in requests to the feasibility studies unit to make sure that we get some express designs going. And I'm coming up on the kind of timeline for submitting our second batch of 3 of our highway projects. And the only thing that I wanted to bring up with this group is the way that I'm prioritizing which express designs to request is I'm looking at project costs and P7, but now that I've got the information, the P8 scores to determine which ones I'm trying to get express designs for sooner rather than later. And meaning I'm looking for projects that score the best as well as projects that cost the most. Because theoretically, the ones that cost the most have a lot more going on. And so they might need longer to do the express design or feasibility study, as well as those that score the best. I want those to be out in front, getting as much prep work as we can get so that they'll continue to compete well. Are there any other considerations or recommendations that y'all have that I look at when determining which of these projects to get express design requests for, other than score and cost?
They don't have an express design.
I think you froze. Can you ask that one more time?
Do, is the express design component required to really be considered for funding?
Short answer, yes. And this is specifically for highway projects. So let's set the other modes aside for right now. Short answer, yes. Moving forward, the goal is that all highway projects that are competing in prioritization will have an express design. However, as we get this implemented, starting in P9, not every single project has to have an express design. The NCDOT kind of came up with a formula of, some planning organizations have more express designs than others, and we don't want that to be a burden or a penalty on those that had fewer. And so in P9, if we have the same, for example, the same number of submittals as we had last round, which was 13 submittals per mode, I believe the number was either 7 or 8 of our projects have to have an express design to be submitted. That leaves us room for about 6 or so that can be submitted without an express design. Hopefully by P10, all of our competing projects will have an express design, but I believe there's also wiggle room. We have, I think, one slot we can use for a project that does not have an express design. So that gives us room if there's something that comes up, at the tail end of project submittals that, oh, we haven't done this one before, but actually let's throw this in there because we want to see how competitive it is. That doesn't have to have an express design. So it kind of gives us that one freebie, but otherwise. So generally speaking, yes, for a highway project to compete, it needs an express design. There's wiggle room for P9 since it's a new thing. We don't want to penalize any areas that don't have as many express designs. But as a general rule, moving forward, we want projects competing to have an express design, which all that is saying really is that we want a project to have more accurate cost estimates, because that helps guard against, as best we can, guard against ballooning cost increases later on, which then can snowball and impact, following rounds of prioritization and stuff like that. So does that make sense, Helen?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about the express design stuff from anybody? Okay. And then the last thing I had as far as RPO staff report, I mentioned to this group last time that the TAC was considering this kind of this role or this idea of RPO community liaisons. They approved that at their April meeting, which mostly formalizes something that we were kind of doing already. So notifying a designee, typically the mayor, if not, unless otherwise told, it might be an alderman or a council member, but one of the elected officials from municipalities that are not represented on the TAC. There's only what, 6 voting municipality spots plus their alternates on the TAC. But we have 25 or 26 municipalities across the RPO. So anyway, just having somebody as a designated RPO contact, so they'll receive RPO packets, RPO, when we do these prioritization workshops and things, they'll be the contact person there so that we're keeping all of the municipalities in the loop so they know what's going on. Very similar to the structure the COG has for any of those who might be aware. COG has an executive board that meets monthly, but then each community has a COG delegate to kind of keep, their finger on things of what's going on with the COG. So same idea with the RPO, but then also adding RPO liaisons is the term for this role for unincorporated areas, and that's kind of to be spearheaded by the county commissioners. And the Brunswick County Commissioners recommended and the full board approved appointing Winnebago's fire chief as an RPO liaison from the Winnebago Town Creek area in Brunswick County. And so he'll be invited to workshops, be invited to meetings to provide input on transportation needs in the community that they are on the ground in and have representation for. So just kind of a more structured way of getting some more public
I
input.
noticed on the list that there is, the Ash is not on there, and I mean, Ash is no different than Winnebago.
On which list?
I don't know, when I was reading the minutes, I didn't see when they were talking about, I guess, options of who that might be in Brunswick County.
Oh, I think in the minutes I wasn't, that was not an exhaustive list.
Oh, okay.
Those were just examples of areas. So yes, Ash is definitely on the table. And so yeah, so what was in the minutes was not these are the only options of unincorporated areas. Those were just examples that I was using. So yes, an area like Ash could have, an appointed RPO liaison. So if there's someone that you have in mind, or if the commissioners have someone in mind, then that will need to come to a TAC meeting for discussion. But yeah, they're not, ineligible or anything like that. So anyway, just wanted to provide follow-up since I know I mentioned it at the last meeting. So any questions on this for now? Okay. Well then, now we'll move on to some of our other partners and I get to stop talking for a few minutes. So Stephanie, do we have anything?
I do have an update, actually. This body provided a resolution of support to us back in 2022 for a raised grant application to construct what we called our new intermodal yard. It is a 10-acre area with 4 new rail tracks, several pieces of new heavy equipment to support loading containers onto rail cars. That project construction is to be completed at the end of this month. So many thanks to this body for your support of the work that we do. And if you'll allow me, I'd like to introduce, this is Fint Harris. He's an intern with us this summer. So this is his first RPO meeting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, that's great news about the projects, and obviously Fint, welcome to the party.
Thank you.
Any questions for the ports? Okay, do we have any updates from Ferry? I don't know if Kat's on, but I think I saw Melissa.
Yes, Kat is not on, but I am here. My name is Melissa Dickerson. I'm a new transportation planner with the Ferry Division. I previously worked for the town of Manteo for 9 years as the town planner and then town manager. In those roles, I served as a member of the Albemarle RPO TCC. So I've been through this process quite a few times. As part of my new role here, I will be attending RPO and MPO calls on a regular basis to provide updates. And then for updates from the ferry division, as of May 19th, all of our routes are on a summer departure schedule, and we have seen traffic levels increase across the board. We recently, previous to my coming on board, submitted a few federal grant applications, and we are appreciative to those who submitted a letter of support. One of those grants was a small shipyard grant program, which would allow the purchase of a 75-ton crane for the shipyard here in Mans Harbor. And that will support more efficient maintenance operations and strengthen our capabilities, which are critical to maintaining reliable ferry service. We are tracking the federal transportation and infrastructure bill, determining how it impacts funding opportunities for us going forward. And we, as you all may have seen in media reports, there is currently underway, as of yesterday, the ferry division is being audited by the state auditor. And yesterday there was a kickoff meeting for that process. And we are looking forward to the process and see it as a tool to educate the legislature and public about the ferry division's needs and history and future. And then we are reviewing the P8 scores and we'll be following up for identifying local input point projects. So I look forward to working with you all. If I can be helpful, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate you being here. Does anybody have any questions for Melissa on all things ferry? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, Eric, if you want to give us any updates from Division 3, I've got the packet stuff loaded in here if you want me to click through those.
Yeah, you can cycle through them. It's a typical format as usual. We'll start off with referencing projects that are under development. In the current calendar year, there's only 3 projects that we have here to talk about. There's a new location route that's parallel to US 74 from economic development funding that's getting close to letting here to mid-June. There are also 2 bridge replacements that are on schedule for the beginning of fall. One is located along Old Mill Road in Pender County, and the other is NC 53 just east of Burgaw in Pender County. There are a number of other projects that are still in the hopper, but a couple years out. I'll move into the next list of projects for what's under construction currently. 2 projects that are on here are both projects that have been essentially established and reopened to traffic for the bridge replacements. One being notable for the emergency contract that was out of Southport along NC 211. Basically, that project is just waiting on vegetation establishment and most likely will fall off our next meeting that we have for TCC. And the other, just west of Rocky Point, is the bridge replacement over Long Creek on NC 210. That is almost in the exact same positioning as the project we just discussed for Price Creek. And more likely than not will fall off in terms of completion, which is great that these are getting wrapped up. The last one on here is everyone's favorite, is along 211 in Brunswick County there. There's shifts that are expected. Initially, we were hoping for a shift in beginning of spring here. There's additional underground work that's been taking place that's I wouldn't call it a delay, but it's just wasn't outside of the original advertised expected schedule. But there's that culvert work that's taking place is pushing that shift of traffic. And you can cycle through to the next projects, Sam, if you want to see just to showcase the overview on the last one for 211. But basically, they're hoping for a shift along those routes to the westbound lanes. And it's expected to happen in most likely July. There's a 30-day window that we should start to see expected as that work develops. And we're looking forward to that. The last segment of information is the resurfacing and maintenance projects. There's a lot of patchwork that's going on and rumble stripes that are being implemented throughout Pender County. Notable routes on here is NC 87, US 421, NC 53, US 117, US 701. Those incorporate a lot of the rumble stripes. There's numerous secondary routes throughout Brunswick County and Pender County. Obviously, as we have our typical format here, we point back to the HMIP application on the next slide there. And you can utilize that at your will and see which other projects are in the hopper here for the next 5-year plan. And the last resource we had available was a new beta version. This is actually pretty cool. Adrian was joking around that this is going to run us out of business because this is pretty much given really good comprehensive updates to active projects of all sizes that are not just associated for larger projects. It's called Projects Near Me. And it's open access right now. Like I said, it's in a beta version, so it doesn't include every single project, but it is pretty close to it. And you can get some good updates and reference to those areas of where active construction is taking place, similar to our STIP GIS application that we have, but this one's a little bit more detailed. I also do want to touch on the temporary traffic signal that's in place for Surf City. I don't have any slides on this, but we've actually seen some success monitoring the congestion and signal timing from the last holiday weekend here, which is pretty impressive. There's a temporary signal that's going into Surf City on the island side, and it's servicing access to that roundabout in a way that's a more manageable traffic flow. We're going to continue to monitor that. We have our traffic engineers working alongside the city, or the town, excuse me, to get that project continuing to be efficient. A last update, and this one doesn't directly relate to Cape Fear RPO's region. However, I feel like a lot of people are utilizing the same route. I just wanted to make aware that there is a traffic shift along US 17. It's actually going to utilize the new bridge structure that was built along the Hampstead bypass route that's just south of the Cape Fear RPO region near Hampstead. And the new southbound routes are actually going to utilize that shift onto the new bridge. So expect some changes here, and you get to drive the new bridge. It'll be a unique view for that area. So other than that, I don't have any other updates specifically. If anyone has any questions, you can either feel free to contact me afterwards or feel free to ask it now, and we can discuss and try to figure out what's going on.
Any questions for Eric? I will say I did take that southbound route, the bridge for the Hampstead bypass. I did not get the view. It was late, and so it was dark, but the road was nice.
That's good. Good that it drives well. I haven't made my way over there yet, but yeah, it's cool that there's a new feature to that area. It's a totally different view from being hidden by the trees. Now you're going to get some different views for sure.
Okay. Well, unless any other questions for Eric? Okay. Seeing none. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Moving into next batch of updates from Division 6. Nathan, same thing. I've got the packet materials that Philip sent. If there are any specifically you want me to click through to give some updates on what's going on in Columbus County.
Yeah, we'll just go through the list. And hello, everyone. I'm Nathan Mills, the Division 6 Corridor Development Engineer, filling in for Philip Hart today. Our first project here is our NC 87 and NC 11 interchange for grading, drainage, pavement, and structures. Currently, we've got curb and gutter installation continuing, and then we had traffic shifts in April and May. Right now, on some of those structures, we've had paving continuing and tying in with some guardrail installation. So that's the biggest on that. We can go to the next one. All right, this is our US 74 from the 11 mile east to US 701 business. This one's draining pavement, bridge rehabilitation. And right now, the biggest thing going on here is we've got night work and then some of those ramps getting paved. So there's a lot of different work going on at night throughout the project. Next. This is our US 74, 1 mile east of NC 41 at the Columbus County line. Pavement rehabilitation and bridge preservation. Right now, bridge rehab for structures 457, 456, 453, and 452 are underway with milling and paving operations throughout. All right, next. It's our bridge 271 over Little Creek, and this is on SR 1818. Right now, in bit number 1, the piles have been driven, cord slabs are being set, and approach slab on in bit number 1 should have just been poured. And the construction progress is actually closer to around 30%. So this project is moving along quite well. Next. This is a NC 410 at Brown Street at First Avenue. This is a pedestrian signal and pavement marking project. This was a packet of approximately 8 different projects. This is the last one that needs to be completed. Right now, they're finalizing punch list items in Cumberland County, and once that is complete, they'll be moving here, and that'll finish out the entire project. So it shouldn't be too much longer before they get to this. Next. Alrighty. So US 701 at SR 1916 Lee Street. And this is our roundabout. So currently right now, there's no progress that's been made on the project, but preliminary surveying of the wetlands and the boundary of the project have been completed, and a pre-construction meeting was held on the 21st. So the contractor should be mobbing in not too long from now, and things will begin to progress. All righty, next. Here we've got our active HMIP list. Nothing's really changed here, but I would like to draw attention to 2 projects on here for an update. That's the DF00501, the installation of the sinusoidal strips and the pavement markings. That project is marked at 85%, but it's pretty much complete. So it should be falling off the list here shortly. And the same thing goes for project DF00525, and that's the installation of upgraded guardrail in units along various routes. All that work should have been completed now, and so that's going to fall off the list. Next, we've got future and possible projects. That's just a list of our HMIP, bridge, and safety projects. If you all have any questions, I can take those now, or you can send them to me or Philip by email. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Anybody have any questions for Nathan for Division 6 at this time? If there are none, I just wanted to give Division 6 a shout out. Nathan, you can take credit for it. I'm not sure who actually gets to take credit for it, but at our April TAC meeting, Mayor Mann from Whiteville brought up some concerns about the pavement conditions on the exit ramp, kind of westbound towards Whiteville. I believe it's exit 244, getting off at 74 Business. Said that the pavement was in pretty rough shape at that exit. that off ramp. And within just a couple of weeks after that meeting, so I guess a couple of weeks ago, I was out that way, and that's already been paved over and looks real nice. So whether that just was coincidence that it was already getting touched up, or if that was, responsive to the feedback, either way, the improvement happened. And so just wanted to, I guess, send thanks via you, since you're the one here to receive it.
Yes, sir, and you're very welcome. And yeah, Philip and I reached out to the resident and district engineer just to make sure that that area was going to be addressed. So
Good deal. Well, it looks great. So appreciate it. Last call, any questions for Division 6? Seeing none, we'll move along. Nazia, do you have any TPD updates for us?
Not too many. I don't have any CTP updates since what I provided last time. Pender County CTP is still ongoing. We're working on the report production as well as the appendix right now. And the only other new update I think I have is the NCDOT statewide multimodal freight plan that's being worked on right now. They're working on updating it from the last plan, which I think was in 2023. And they hope to have a draft plan to us by end of 2026. They do have a fact sheet. I provided a link as well as additional information on the freight plan. If anyone's interested, it's in the packet. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Nazia. Anybody got questions for TPD? Okay. Next is IMD, and not to put you on the spot, Campbell, but I'm pretty sure I saw Kim as well. So whether there's IMD updates, or Kim, if you want to introduce Campbell.
Yeah, I'll give updates and then I can introduce Campbell. The only updates that I have so far are in terms of the multimodal planning grant that's going on. Cape Fear was a big component of that application last year and was awarded a couple this year as well. Last year, the Oak Island bike plan was completed. The town, received the final deliverables and everything went well. We are still reviewing Southport's bike ped plan. It's still under review, but we should have that coming up pretty soon. In terms of this year's bike ped plans, Surf City and Burgaw were awarded, and those have kicked off so far. Campbell is on those projects as well, so he can have more updates in the next future upcoming TCC meetings. I did want to share with the RPO that I have moved positions within IMD. I am now the Western Piedmont Regional Planner. So I wanted to introduce Campbell Pfister as the new Coastal Plains Regional Planner. And then before he introduces himself, I just wanted to say thank you for all the collaboration and work that has been going on with IMD and Cape Fear in the last couple of years. And I appreciate everybody's collaboration and just time together. So Campbell, if you wanted to hop off of mute and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey everybody. Thank you guys so much for letting me introduce myself. As Kim said, my name is Campbell Feaster. I have been interning with the NCDOT since last summer, and I just graduated from UNC Chapel Hill at with my master's in city and regional planning. So I'm moving into this permanent position from my internship. With my internship, I initially was working with the statewide planning team. So I was working on intercity bus projects and some safe routes to school programming, and a few complete streets reviews and some other supporting work. But I'm really excited to be a part of the regional planning team and join the Coastal Plains region. And I'm here as a resource and to support any and everything that you guys may need. So thank you very much. I'm excited to get to work with you all.
Awesome. Well, Kim, we appreciate your contributions and planning collaboration with our region, and Western Piedmont's gonna be lucky to have you. And Campbell, we're glad to have you here in the Coastal Plains. Also, as an aside, glad to have a DCRP graduate also on board. That's where my planning school was. Even our COG director here actually is also a DCRP grad. So welcome aboard. Happy to have you on and look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to it as well. And yeah, the DCRP are everywhere, I feel like.
Yeah, there's a good well, I'll get derailed. We'll talk later.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, moving on. I don't know if Greer was able to join. I don't think so. So I don't think we have any updates from the Wilmington MPO. I also don't see Tom on from the from GSATs. Using Tom as our contact person now, for those who don't know, really this is just applicable to Brunswick County, but Elizabeth, who was their administrator, is now with the city of Georgetown. So kind of some staff changes there at GSATs, but Tom's been around for a couple of years, and so it'll be good to keep us in the loop on what's going on in the southwestern portion of the county. Okay, well, I think that reaches the end of our updates. Does anybody have any questions? Anything else they want to bring before the group for discussion? Going once. Going thrice. We're moving on. Well, then we stand adjourned. Our next TCC meeting will be on August 5th, so in 2 months. For county and municipal folks, I'll be in touch for prioritization and local input stuff before then. But otherwise, hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Happy summertime, and we'll meet again in August. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us come in person.